Okay, so even if you don't have a Cricut, the Cricut Design Space website is available for anyone. You don't need a Cricut. So you would go to the Design Cricut. If you don't know how to get there, I'm gonna provide the link, but you could also Google it. You just put Cricut Design Space, it'll come up, and then you just click on it. I already have an account with them, but you can simply just sign up. Let me log out, sign out. So you would go here to create a Once you sign up, it's gonna take you to this page. It's gonna ask you if you want to set up a machine. It's gonna ask you, this is a new feature. So up here, it's gonna ask you to choose the machine that you have. You can choose the Explorer or whichever one, it doesn't matter. So this is what the page looks like. This is where you have your projects that you've saved. You would see them here, and this is where you start a new project. So we're gonna start a new project. First, make an account with them. It's gonna look like this. It's gonna have grid lines. But since you'll see later on, we can't have these grid lines. For right now, we just need it to be white. So you go up here to these three little lines, and then you go down to settings. Oops. Down to settings. Then this will pop up. So you have full grid, partial grid. You want to choose no grid. And then what happens is that it'll be blank. It'll just be white. And you need it like this for the next few steps that we're gonna do. So the next step is to, if you already have good fonts on your computer, then you don't need to do this next step. But if you need help finding good fonts, then I'm gonna show you. So let's say we're gonna do Myra. This is the name that we're gonna cut out. I have a lot of fonts because I've been doing this for a while, but not everyone has fonts on their computers that are good. So Cricut itself has a bunch of fonts. Normally, if you're gonna use the Cricut machine, you're gonna send it to the Cricut machine and have it printed and cut. You cannot use their fonts because, as you can see, you're gonna be charged $4.99. But since we're just gonna screenshot whatever you make, you can go ahead and choose any of their fonts. Or you click here to system, and these will be all your fonts. So I'm gonna quickly show you how you would get fonts. I already have a save, it's called thefont.com. And I'll also provide that link for you. So here on this web page, you have so many fonts, just so many. I could find any font for any logo or anything. My favorite font is the calligraphy. It would be under script and calligraphy. And those are all the nice cursive fonts. So let's say we want to do this one, Mage Love, I think that's how you pronounce it. So if you look over on this side, it says download. You click download. And then down here, it'll save as a zip folder. So if you're familiar with zip folders, you have to open them up. Oh, once it's finished downloading, then We'll try to open it up. Let's try a different one while that one downloads. Okay. So you would click it. So this pops up. You are gonna need, I'm not sure what this is called. It's like something that unzips these types of folders. Most computers already have a software that unzips these files, but more than likely you do have it on your computer. And if you do, you're gonna click on the file that says .ttf, and this pops up. So it's showing you all the letters A through Z, and then all the capital letters 1, 2, 3, and all the way to 0, and all the special numbers, how they look. And they always say this: the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. So you install, and it's not going to tell you once it installs. You'll know because this option won't be available. So let's close it. And now it's in your computer. So you can close this out. And this is the hard part because you have to close everything down. So go ahead and close it out. The reason you have to do this is because it has to refresh. The browser has to refresh, and you have to reopen it. So I use Google Chrome. And then let's go back to Cricut. New project. Okay. So let's start. Let's write Myra again. And now if you look here in fonts and you put M-A-G-E, there it is. There's your font. So now that you have your font, you would want to press ungroup, which is up there, right there, ungroup. So then it makes it, instead of one whole file, let's do that again. Instead of one whole file, once you ungroup, now they're all individual letters, separate. So you grab all the letters and you bring them as close as possible. I have a different favorite fonts.
So my favorite font is all the way here at the bottom. It's like the last one. It's called Valentine. So as you can see, the letters are separate. You can go there to letter space and click down until it goes into the negative. That also helps bring it closer. But I don't like wasting my time, so I'll just ungroup it. If you right click, you can do that as well. And then I just bring the letters close to each other. Okay, so this is a little trick that I'm going to show you. Basically, because when we go to cut this, this is going to be very thin. And when you go to cut it, you don't want the whole styrofoam to break. I'm going to show you an example on my logo. These are the areas I'm talking about. If you make it too thin, as you're trying to handle it, it's going to break. When you're trying to, move it around, this area will break. So what I like to do is to just make this a little bit thicker. I didn't do it with that because I handled it very lightly, but you're going to want to do that here. So basically what I do, I will duplicate it and put it up here. This may seem complicated, but it's actually pretty easy. Then you can take a square or circle, and then you're going to bring it right over this little, like the little U part. So you bring it right over it. So if you select both items, now that they're both selected and you right click, you can press slice, and it will cut. So now you have a bunch of pieces. But this is the piece that we're looking for, either this one or this one. So you take this piece and you set it right here. to make it thicker. So now you see it's thicker. You don't worry about this little white spot because when you go to cut, when we print this out and you go to cut, you're gonna cut right here and down here. So don't worry about this little spot. So we want to reinforce this spot right here because it's pretty thin. So maybe we can do it with this. I think so. Alright. So then you would go and delete this. You don't need that. And then you select all of this together, right click, and then you would weld it together. So now it's all together, no loose pieces, it's all one. If you look here, it's no longer a bunch of pieces and letters, it's all one file. So, if you have a Cricut, then you know that you would just go to make it, and then you print it out and have your machine cut it. But for those of you that don't have a Cricut, you basically make it big. And then there's this little tool called, let me see what it's called. It's not saying. It's like a snipping tool. Yeah, there you go. Snipping tool. So, to find it in your computer, let me see. In my computer, basically, it's right here. If I wiggle my mouse around in this area, the search will pop up. And then I can search there for the snipping tool, and it comes up. Go back to Chrome. Once you have this, you would take the snipping tool, and up here you press New. And then if you go, you don't want to leave too much space above and below the name, because picture the red lines as the page. So the smaller you make it, then the bigger the Myra will be on the page when you print it out. So this will pop up, and what you want to do is you want to save it. I already have it saved, so I don't need to save it again. So once you save it, this is it here on my desktop. So this is what it looks like after you save it. So you want to press Control and P, and then that will pop up the print option. So you can send it to print. I won't go all the way, but because I already have it printed. But this right here where you can have the option to do portrait or landscape. If you do portrait, as you can see, it's going to be small. This will represent the page. I know most of you know, but most of you probably won't. So this is going to be the page. If you do portrait, it's going to be a little bit smaller. If you do landscape, it'll be a little bit bigger. So I already went ahead and printed it out. And this is what it looks like. So normally I'm not going to have you guys print it on regular piece of paper because it's too thin. You want something that's thicker like cardstock so that it could be like a stencil. As you're cutting, you're going to be pushing against this paper. And if it's this paper, it's too thin. It won't hold the burning tool. You need Myra to be a little bit bigger. You're going to go back to the snipping tool, and when it's time to snip, New, you want to snip very close and perhaps maybe stop right here. Because remember, the red lines, they represent what the page is going to be like when you print it out. So you want maybe the M to fit in just one page so that you can get an example of how big it's going to be. So a normal page is usually 8 by 11, 8.5 by 11. So usually it'll be 11 inches tall and then 8 wide, 8.5. So if you screenshot it, let's say right here, this is going to take most of the page up, so it'll be bigger. If you're not understanding now, you will in a few seconds. But if you want Myra to be bigger, you just have to screenshot less of the name. So once you screenshot a smaller portion, you would screenshot, let's say, just the M, like that, and then you would go ahead and screenshot the rest of Myra, just like that. So then you would have two parts. You would have one part, oops, this way, half a Myra and half a Myra. So I already printed that out as well. So as you can see, when you do it like that, it's a little bit bigger. All you have to do is just tape it right there, and now it's a little bit bigger than if you were just to print it on one page. So if you want this to become even bigger, when you're screenshotting it, screenshot a little bit less. Like for example, if you screenshot just the A, then the A would be the size of this page. For the purpose of this video, I just went ahead and printed it on thicker cardstock. You'll see in the next video why I need it to be on thick cardstock and not just paper. So I just need it to be this big. It doesn't have to be any bigger than this. So I'll upload another video showing you how to cut it. So this video just went over how to make Myra, how to make the name, how to print it out. The next video will show, if you have a Cricut, how to do it on the Cricut.